Welcome back to this season 3, episode 6.
Yes.
With Suzy Sevier. I nailed it?
You nailed it. 10 for 10 would recommend.
She has moved from England to Dayton, Ohio. So welcome back to the show. And thanks for giving us the time. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm super excited. Round 2s are always fun, so this will be a blast.
Yes, definitely. And then we always start the show the same way. Can you give us a background of what you do and then what led you to be where you're at today?
Totally. So I'm a multi-family and short-term rental owner and operator in Oklahoma and Texas. And what led me to this today was actually COVID.
Awesome. The positive of COVID.
Totally.
Which is few and far between, I guess. But I'm glad that it took some positive twists for you and some spin in your life. So COVID actually was the catalyst to you moving to the States? Investing?
Investing.
Okay.
Yeah. And
so what were you doing before COVID?
Okay, so before COVID, so I was living in Cambridge, England with my husband, and there for that particular duty station, because he's active duty Air Force, I was a project manager for just a global company that was local to Cambridge. But then before that move, I was in the world of accounting. And as many of you will know by the end of the episode, I was not meant for a cubicle. So I just needed something different.
Yeah.
But the accounting background, I'm sure, helps you with real estate investing because it's a lot of numbers. And it sounds like you are a long distance investor, which is even more important about numbers.
Totally. I think that was a good mix of it too. But actually now that I've, kind of got like a whole view perspective of who I am as a human. So I for my undergrad, I actually my main major was anthropology, and it was because I loved humans. So then getting into the apartment space made me realize wow, it's all connecting now, because in anthropology, all you do is learn about humans, and that's all I'm trying to do now, right? Whether it's the residents, our vendors, whomever, when you really have a curiosity for people, I think that helps way more sometimes than my accounting background.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yep.
Absolutely. I know that my undergrad, one of my degrees was psychology, and I don't use psychology direct, but I use psychology every day because you deal with people. So
totally.
It's definitely a factor that you need, and it's not going to elude you, even if you are a long-term investor like you. So how did you're doing the accounting thing, you're dominating the world of accounting, and COVID hits and you're like, I'm just going to invest in real estate? Or what was your influence into getting into that?
Totally. So COVID when we were in the UK, I mean, just how the world works, right? The United Kingdom was oh, is this real? Is this not real? We hear about it in Seattle. We hear about it in China. Is it going to make it here? Well, yeah. Okay. It made it there. So we were a little behind, but once Boris Johnson decided that we were officially a country that had COVID, he actually shut everything down. So people were not allowed to go to work. We were allowed to leave our house once a day to exercise and go to the pharmacy or the grocery store. So when you are put in a situation where you are in a tiny flat with your husband, you're like, okay, what are we going to do for the foreseeable future? Because he did wet lab research. And so it's not like he could bring any of his work home. I don't want any of that bacteria at our house. And so with that, we were like, okay, we're going to start a mini book club. So the first book was The Slight Edge. And in the back, my husband was like, I want all the other books. This was life-changing. I'm like, okay, let's go. And one of those was Multiple Streams of Income by Robert Allen. So in that book, the whole second section is real estate investing. He's like, read this now. We're not going to talk about the first half because it doesn't matter anymore. The book club starts at part 2. I'm like, cool, we can do this. And so from there, we did what, any person in their 30s does. I guess maybe not all of us, but a lot of us. We Google. And from that, we found Bigger Pockets. And from Bigger Pockets, we found From Military to Millionaire. And that was more comfort for Michael, right? Being active duty. And so that rabbit hole spiraled to a Facebook group. And all we had to ask was, is anybody investing in the US while, you know, being stationed overseas? And one person said yes. And we were like, wow, we can make this work. And so we set up a call with him. We thought we were going to die that day. We were like, oh my gosh, like, can we do this? Are we worthy of this? What's going to happen right now? So after we had the call, we were like, oh, okay, we got this. And from that call, he was like, you should go to a conference this weekend. It's all military folks, or mostly military folks. You should give it a shot. And we were like, is this what we do? Like, do we already jump in? You know, we've only known about this for like a good 4 days. Do we give it a shot? And luckily, I found the conference and they were like, hey, you can win a free VIP ticket if you post on Facebook. And I did, and I won it. So I was like, it's meant to be. Yeah.
It is meant to be.
So like from there, and I will jump a little quicker, but from there, the VIP included breakouts with every single speaker. And that's like the biggest part of this story, is that we had a breakout with a multifamily operator, Whitney Sewell. Sorry if I said his last name incorrectly. And he was like, you don't need to start with single family. You can go straight into multifamily. And we're like, yep. You are crazy. So we thought that we were going to go like the BRRRR route. So buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat, in a town I grew up in Iowa. But an inland hurricane went through. And with this inland hurricane, instead of panicking, we just pivoted, because we weren't going to look for investments there anymore, because the city was really focusing on rebuilding the city. And so then Whitney's voice came back in our head and was like, hey, you can go straight into multifamily. And so then what we knew we were missing was a boots on the ground. So again, Facebook came into play, made a Facebook post talking about real estate investing. And one of Michael's old classmates from the Air Force Academy was like, hey, I'm in Oklahoma City and I'm not in the Air Force anymore. I'm a wholesaler and a flipper, but I'd love to be in multifamily. We were like, bam, boots on the ground. So then we decided we wanted to invest in Tulsa. And from there, I was like, I swear I'm almost done, but I think it's a good story. So from there,
all good.
Yeah, we told everyone, Tulsa, 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 right? Because nobody can really help you until you actually give them criteria. Yeah. And also being far away, we knew that we needed a property manager. So like that then dictated the size that we were going after. So once we started telling everyone that, someone was like, hey, you know, at first we were kind of spooked out by you guys living in Cambridge, but you've showed up to enough meetups and conferences virtually that I think I can introduce you to someone. You know, we don't think you're this weird red flag anymore. We're like, perfect. And then that's how we got introduced to our organic mentor. So this individual was going after much larger deals. Like we didn't even have the capacity for that. And he's like, hey, if you actually show up and show me that you're putting in the work, then I will help you. And so he helped us like perfect our underwriting. He would give us like little hints along the way of like, okay, you've reached out to, you know, this many PMs, try this one, or, you know, why don't you tweak this number? And this is why. Like he helped us a lot. And so then from meeting him, I'm gonna have to say, so like we started everything in like April-ish, moved to multifamily in July, probably met him in August, and then our first LOI was accepted in November or December, and then we closed on our first multifamily the following February, and that was 88 units.
Wow.
And then Congrats. That's the story.
Congrats. And I know that the world, because the first thing that I jumped on was Bigger Pockets as well. When I was working with Dan, we were in outside sales and I was podcasting everywhere I drove. Yeah. And the same thing they kept saying is you don't have to start with single family. You can go up to a fourplex multifamily. It's the same things you're going to do. Obviously more capital is involved, but if you're doing maintenance on one unit, you have a whole building. All of your units are in one place, rather than driving to 5 different places. Mm-hmm. So like a lot of the things they said made sense, but still in the beginning, I was like, that's a big thing to bite off.
Totally. And you have to juggle so many things at once, right? Like, so because we were the leads for it. So like, while we're creating these relationships with vendors, we also have to make a website, because or else anyone who wants to invest with us won't think we're credible. So while we're building this website, we have to create content. And then we have to have, you know, investor calls, because you have to have these calls before you even have a deal. And somehow you have to convince people that you can manage a deal, even though you've never had a deal. Yeah. So it's like this crazy tornado all at the
Yeah.
same time. But then once you get your first deal, I swear everything is so much easier.
Yeah. It's like a breath of fresh air once the first one is done.
Yeah,
And then everything seems a little less hectic, a little less scary, I'll say,
totally.
from that one.
Yeah.
How did you find that first deal? I apologize if you said it in the little background.
Yeah, I didn't say it, so that's okay. So it was through broker relationships. What we did was that we asked brokers to go to virtual coffee, and by that, I would send them a gift card to the nearest coffee shop that was closest to their office, so that we like stood out. Because you know, when you only reach out to brokers when deals are hot, like that's the worst time to do it. Like you need to reach out to brokers all of the time. But what helped us was that our organic mentor gave us the credibility to that individual broker who brought the deal.
Yeah. And did you find the broker on Bigger Pockets as well, or was he off the platform? Okay.
No, I just did like brokers.
Yeah, which was super cool. And I was going to comment on that. Going from the accounting world, having no connections into real estate, you Googled which research would be free. The only thing that I guess in your whole startup that costed money would be a travel to that convention, and then maybe, well, the tickets were free.
That was virtual. So everything was virtual. So
all of your learning was free.
Yeah.
Which is amazing, because a lot of people's barrier to entry is like, I don't have the money. But like, you don't need the money to analyze deals and get all the education. No. That's just motivation. Like, do you want to do it?
Yeah, because like every day, right? Like we saw Florida freak out, we saw Texas freak out. I mean, actually, New York and California, really, it depends who the person was. They all freaked out on every spectrum. So we were like, okay, we have no clue how the US is going to react to everyone having to stay home. So we have to act like every day is our last day of being virtual. So like we went to meetups at 1 a.m. We would stay up for conferences, you know, until midnight, just so that we could see the final speaker. Because, well, one, we're not humans who watch the recordings. I really tried to be that person, and I was like, no. So like being there made it much easier, but that meant like staying up and putting in horrendous hours for a really long time.
Yep. And that's the first thing that Bigger Pockets puts in their intro is like, if you're looking for something easy, this is not it. Mm-hmm. It's hard work. It's weird hours. Mm-hmm. So you just have to embrace that. And it sounds like you did it. So
yeah. I mean, it was like no choice, right? Especially, well, that's how we thought of it. Like it was no choice. If we wanted to put me into the position where, like, because as a military spouse, you know, getting a new job every time you move is actually not super exciting.
Yeah.
For a variety of reasons. So that was one. But then the second one was, it's like, okay, well, I don't want Michael to stay in the military after 20 years. And he'll technically, by the time he can retire, be in for 24. It's still like a substantial amount of time. So like, how can we get him out of that? And so those two factors were enough drive for us to, like, I don't know, high five each other at like midnight and be like, we can do this, more coffee.
Keep the caffeine flowing.
Totally.
Can we go over numbers of that first multifamily? And they don't have to be specific numbers by any means, but like how did you like, okay, so you reach out to the broker, he says, hey, I've got this multifamily. It's how many doors was it? 88 doors. Yeah. And you, after you get your breath back of like, okay, this is an insane amount of doors for my first deal, you sit down, you go over numbers. So where did you guys look for capital? So you don't need to give institutional names. Just is it funded? Was it cash? Like that kind of thing.
It was a syndication. So we just brought people on. So awesome. Our boots on the ground, he helped bring some capital. We brought on another partner who helps with asset management. He brought some capital. So like there's two capital I won't speak on because I'm not actually 100% sure. I mean, I could like look back through the PPM and they'd say like, oh, we met in college, but ours were pretty much all people we had met virtually, because investors also need to invest in deals, right? I mean, or at least they should. Well, that's a whole nother topic I could talk about for like 4 hours, but yeah. So it was all people No, we had met because my friends and family were like, Suzy, I remember you in college. I'm not there yet. And I was like, "Ugh, okay, we'll get there eventually." And with Michael, same thing. Michael, I remember you in college. We're not there yet. I mean, some
Yeah.
of Michael's friends from the military did, but they were actually all brand new investors. So we were excited. Like the whole deal was 4.375 million, and we brought in about like $1.7 million for
Nice.
the three of us. And it was all our first time raising. So that was cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. And syndications are all like, they're very, very common. So that's super cool that you were able to jump into that right away. Because I
Yeah.
think people get scared of like, well, I don't have any money. It's like, but like what you said is investors want to place money and
Yeah.
they're looking for people that want to do either the other legs, either they're the manpower, the boots on the ground, like you're saying.
Yeah. And even to add to that, right? Because people have also said that to me, like, oh, I don't have any money. Like, you must have had money. And I'm like, oh, this is fun.
Yep.
Because we had to, because like at the beginning you pay like SEC attorney fees in general, the application fee for the loan. There's a lot of stuff. And no, a lot of that went on a credit card. And, you just have to hope for the best.
Mm-hmm.
And put in the work. I was like, there's a mix of,
Yes.
both things that work. Yeah.
Yeah, but there is. I mean, when I started, it was like bare minimum on the personal side, and all of my money was going into properties. And it was stressful and it wasn't the glamorous life, but it makes ends meet.
Yeah.
So there's some concessions, but it all works out.
Totally.
And so after your first deal, has that now rolled into multiple other deals with those investors as well? Like now that you built up those relationships?
Totally. So we had this like the 88 unit in February of 21. Then we had 100 units in July of 21. Then we had our short-term rental portfolio in there. That was 8 in, I think, like August. Then 191 units in October. Wow. And then I was like, I swear I don't have them anymore. Then right, fast forward, then July 2022, and then now we have 2 more projects under contract, and that July one was 106.
Wow, that's awesome.
So it's fun.
It's all in that same area, or have you now diversified into like wherever in the US?
I'm number 1 for Oklahoma. So
that's awesome.
Most of them are in Tulsa, the Tulsa MSA, and then we have 2 in like that 191 is a portfolio of 2. That's in Oklahoma City, but once we sell that, we will just stay in Tulsa because it just, actually, this is like a good thing to talk about right now. I hope. So like with this lull period that we had, right? Because like interest rates went up, but prices weren't stabilizing and all this stuff. So I had like a minor life crisis. I was like, oh my gosh, what do I do right now? Granted, my to-do list is like 100 deep still, but like, do I look into, medium-term rentals? Do I look into multifamily now that we're in Ohio? Like, do you start over a whole new business? And then like, I don't know what it was because I don't even have that much quiet time, even though I like crave it. I was like, why? Why do I need so much more when I can just be patient with what's there, right? Because if I were to build something new, because we never know when any of the properties are going to start like ramping up again, even though I think it is in the near future. But like building a business takes a lot. It doesn't matter if you've already done multifamily, like starting somewhere new, like you still have to meet all of the vendors all over again. You have to vet them all over again. So it's like, did I want to spend that time rebuilding all these things somewhere else? Or do I wait and like keep underwriting in Tulsa and show the brokers and everyone else that like I'm still committed to Tulsa? And so that is the route we chose to take.
Awesome.
Interesting.
It's a nice area. And Tulsa more, obviously you looked at the numbers of the actual like homes and residents there.
Yeah.
Is that like a big touristy or transit area?
So, that's a great question. So the Kaiser family of the Kaiser Foundation lives in Tulsa. So because of that, that family has put in a ton of money. So they like created, I guess this park, I don't know how big it is, but it's called the Gathering Place. And it's meant for families. It's meant for kids. Like it is a massive park. Now I want to find it because it does, so 66.5 acres, which is pretty large, but like they have stuff for all ages. And they even have like basketball courts, a skate park and everything. So they really hit the ages of all kids, which draws in family. They also did a program called Tulsa Remote, and they maxed out on applications. So Tulsa Remote was that if you move to Tulsa, we will give you a $10,000 stipend if you work remotely. Like that blew up. So a lot of people moved there for that. And now
I did not hear about that. That's cool.
Yeah, which is fine because then less people look at Tulsa. But like there's just a variety of I guess choices. Like for example, for employers is what I meant, choices for employers. So the largest inland port in the whole United States of America is 15 minutes out of Tulsa. So it's the only inland waterway that can make it all the way to China. That in itself, like creates so much jobs, creates so many, you know, goods, resources, helps the economy. Like I'm just massively blown away. I was like, I could keep going. So Google's second hold on. Google's second largest data center, I was like, I can do this, is also in the Tulsa MSA. So like when you see companies like that coming in, it's because one, they know the economy is thriving or is growing, and two, because the cost of business is cheap. So when the cost of business is cheap, usually the cost of living is cheap, and we're seeing people move in from everywhere. Now, granted, it's still not on people's radar, right? Because it's Oklahoma, but I'm here all day to invest.
And we won't push people to Tulsa. We'll keep it for you.
Good choice. Thank you.
But that's super cool that you found that area, because you'll find those hotbed areas that the real estate is just going crazy. And I'll be honest, Tulsa never came up on what I've been reading. So I will try to keep that on the hush for you. But
so a big reason why I believe, right, is because when you look at the crime, it is higher than like Neil Bawa's chart of like, this is what you shouldn't go after. The thing is that like any city, actually, there are sub pockets, right, of like bad crime or bad neighborhoods, but that's everywhere. And most of us just choose not to invest in those certain pockets, you know? And so like, obviously to everyone, like to each their own, but I kind of looked deeper into Tulsa instead of just looking at it, like, you know, from that lens and being like, oh, I can't. Cause like when I drove around there, cause like I've spent a lot of time there now, like you can see a huge divide between North Tulsa and South Tulsa. But the thing is that like in some of those pockets, there are great like dispositions where like you can find properties, you know, that need a complete remodel and people go after those. So it all just depends, right? Like once you decide what your criteria is, that is really what should dictate it all.
Yeah, absolutely. And it sounds like you were narrowed down in your criteria.
Yeah.
And did you base your criteria from what you learned at the forums or the conferences or the forums on Bigger Pockets, or did your syndication partners come in with some background? Because you said they were first time as well. So was it the accounting background? Like, how did you formulate your numbers, get everybody on the same page? Like, hey, we're going to go after this property with this NOI. Like, how did you guys cipher through all of the numbers to figure out like, all right, this is what we're going for?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think it actually started once we chose our property manager, because, right, like you choose where you're going to invest, and then you kind of look at the submarkets to figure out like what works and what doesn't work. But like we see our property manager as like literally a huge part of our team. So if she doesn't want to manage a property, then we just pass on it, right? Because so there's a couple of reasons to go into that. The first one is that if the property manager is stressed out, like to that extreme or, you know, isn't comfortable, that goes on to the owners because we have weekly calls with them. And like, she's like, if it goes on to the owners, then it goes on to me. So like, why put myself in that position? And she's also said like, I can pick and choose, or I want to pick and choose because of that. So like, she doesn't have to say yes to everything. But we also knew we needed somebody on site 9 to 5. So we had to find a property that supported a manager being there from 9 to 5. So that's kind of how we were able to choose like, okay, 88 units is kind of like the lowest we want to go. And then you can kind of go to like 150 with like one manager, and then 150, you know, to like 250, maybe 2 managers or leasing agent, whatever that may be. But that was actually the first component of we need her. But then from there, like the price just kind of went along with it, right? So like we knew we needed to stay lower around 100 because we knew that we had to somehow figure out how to raise 1.7 or $2.5 million. So we weren't going to, like, it was a lot of self-reflection actually, right? Like, okay, from the investors that we have on the list, once we send out a survey, because we send out a survey twice a year just to see where people are at investing wise. And a lot can change in 6 months. I mean, granted, a lot can change in one day, but it was like, okay, you know, if we're getting feedback that, you know, we have $750,000 that people kind of want to deploy soon, then we can build our team from there. But after, because you never know, you don't know what you don't know. So then after our first deal, it just went to like, really asking better questions to the partners we were going to bring on, like, because we also know how much they can raise. Oh, a second part, actually, this just sprung to my head, is like net worth and liquidity. So that's a huge part with any part of your loan. So that's also how we dictated the size of deals. So like for the first one, right? Okay, well, we have to have collectively a net worth of $4.375 million. Who's going to help us get there? You know, but you also can't have a massive team because then everyone, I don't know, thinks you're crazy or a scam. I haven't dug too deep into that because I'm like, whatever. But then that is a big reason, right? That's how you also figure out what numbers you're going to do. So it's not just like, oh, I think, or I know this many people who probably want to invest. It's like, no. Like you really have to do a lot of research to figure out like what your numbers are. And then another big thing is that like right when, and this is just after your first one, right? Because we didn't know, like right after the PSA is signed is like getting a bunch of vendors out immediately to give you bids so that you can finalize underwriting, because that really helps you dictate how much you actually have to raise. You know, like asking another operator in a different area does not work, because an example of that is that Oklahoma, and before this time of insurance rates, because right now insurance is crazy everywhere, but Oklahoma was always much higher than other states, right? So like somebody from Texas brought us a deal and we were like, well, that there's no, in the nicest way, right? We're like, there's no way that works. Like your insurance is crazy low. And they're like, oh, I didn't realize insurance was so high in Oklahoma, right? That's just like, you can't ask people in your area. You have to like, or in other areas, you have to ask people in your area to really figure out what your numbers are. But like I said, it's a lot of self-reflection because that's hard to do. You know, people don't want to think to themselves like, oh, I'm not ready for this, because all we hear on social media is like, you can do it. I'm like, okay, let's think about it a little bit.
The hoorah chants on social media, which I'm sure at the convention you got enough of as well. Although it was virtual, so you didn't get the full impact of it. I mean, still though, the chats, I was just like, okay, I'll just a lot of the fireworks and all that stuff going on in the chat. Totally. It's real. You had mentioned a couple times like you don't know until you know. What were some of the things going into your first that stick out to you as like the biggest I don't know? Because I think a lot of people fear either getting to the next level in real estate or learning something new because they're going to run into something they don't know and they're going to look dumb. But every step of the way that I go, I look dumb because I don't know what I'm doing. I've never done it before. And I've never had a class of how to buy a 100-unit apartment complex. So yes, I'm learning. So what were some of the things as you went through and did that stick out as like, I didn't know that was a huge eye-opening moment, but it wasn't like the deal killer.
Oh, so I wouldn't say that any of them were actually a deal killer. What it was is that the lender, for example, nobody told us the enormous, and I didn't need anyone to tell me this, but like nobody even warned us that the lender needs to be able to access you pretty much 24/7, and you will have paperwork on top of paperwork on top of paperwork on top of paperwork and lawyer calls and more paperwork and another lawyer call and more paperwork. Like we just did not expect that at all, right? It's more like nobody talks about the juggle. Everybody says, I mean, I even said it at the beginning, right? Like, oh, everything's easy after your first deal. Well, it's still hard, but it gets easier, like because you kind of have a sense of what to prepare. But like everything that the lender needed, that was a bit challenging, just because we were like, wow, did not account, and especially being overseas, right? Like we did not ever think that like we were going to have to stay up, because the lawyers were in California, so that was an 8-hour difference. So like if they worked till 6, they expected to be able to get a hold of us until 2, and I was like, and this is where I died, you know. So actually I think that was actually the only one that really stands out. I mean, there are things that now stand out, like that the seller did, that I don't necessarily need to get into, but like now looking back on it, I was like, you know, I think that might have been a red flag. I don't think I'll do that again. But nobody talks about like all the juicy stuff. But so what we did afterwards is that we actually went through all like 800 million emails, and we made like a 215 point checklist of like, okay, this is what we need to do for the next deal. And
you're just refining your process, right? Like what works, what doesn't, what to avoid, or what you don't have to focus on. Yeah,
totally. Because that was like a game changer, because like then it frees up so much brain space for the next one, you know, because all we do now is like go into a sauna and we're like, oh, okay, we can check that off. And I have a big one actually. Something I thought of. So the day of closing, the lawyer's associate sent us paperwork that we had to go get notarized and then send back overnight. What none of us failed to notice is that she sent, or he, because I don't remember, and I kind of feel bad that I said she at first, but there was only one tracking like code. So after the first person sent it in, the rest of them scanned, but they didn't actually go anywhere. So when they're like, where's the paperwork? I'm like, I don't know. Like we all sent it in, you know, this is all our tracking code. And then I was like, oh my gosh, we all have the same tracking because we only had one thing. So like little things like that, right? That might not happen for everyone, but it's not something you'd ever think about looking for. So that was our eventful firework ending.
Man, and that's like the last moment too, when you don't want things to go wrong.
Totally.
At the closing table.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's got to be nerve-wracking, but it all worked out.
It did, thankfully.
So that's perfect. You had mentioned something earlier through the whole underwriting process, and you talked about the lending in like it was paperwork and phone calls and paperwork and phone calls, and you said like that is a tough process, and I will agree. The first time getting lending sucks. It's so much like I would get an email and I'm like, I don't even know how I'm going to find that number for this person. Like they're asking for a number that I'm not tracking on, because no normal person tracks on that number. So you have to go try and find that number, give them validation that it's right. The nice thing is the next time you do that, you've already rounded up your information. So you have that info and it gets easier. The process is still like a little unsettling, still unsure, because now it's only my second time doing it. But at least I didn't have to go back and find the information. At least it's like neatly organized for next time.
Yeah, and like something, this is just a story, but like the lender's attorney was like, you're, you know, not doing whatever, right? And I'm like, okay, well, I've sent it to you 3 times. I'm just going to call you, like I'm thinking this in my head, call her. She's like, well, I can't talk to you without your lender on the phone. I'm like, do you know how long I've been trying to get hold of my my attorney today? I can't get a hold of my attorney. I just need to know how to fix this because this paperwork needs to be done,
Yeah.
And it's like little things like that you don't think about, because like the lender's attorney can't give me legal advice,
Yep.
And so it's like crazy. Even though everyone's on the same team, we all have different goals on the same team. Like our goal is to finish, but in between there, someone's taking a shortcut, someone took the long way, and somebody definitely went over the rocks and sprained their ankle, just pissed off. So
it's like a NFL roster. Like you each have your own coordinators that you got to listen to, and at the end of it, you're supposed to win the game. And hopefully everybody's on their own path and they have their plan that's supposed to work. And then at the end, it's like, okay, did we all do our parts? And we're sitting at the closing table, kind of nervous that like, I hope the offense did what they were supposed to do. And I hope the defense did what they were supposed to do. And then special teams, we have no idea. They're just over there doing something.
I'm like,
so,
okay.
It gets nerve-wracking a little bit.
It does.
Do you see yourself, like what's on the horizon? Are you guys in the works for the next big thing?
Yeah. So I was like, I have so many things I want to say right now.
And I know you probably can't give out all the dirt. You got to leave some things hidden.
No, it's okay. So yes, we are on the horizon. Have 2 deals under contract. Pretty sure I can say that. So our goal for the year is to acquire $30 million of real estate this year. But, depending on the state, in Arizona, that could literally be a shack. In Oklahoma, that's, a substantial amount of units. And so with that though, and this is what I really want to say, is that like we chose our number just based on the volume that we thought we could do, not what anyone else was doing, right? Because there's so many people like comparison, and like my huge thing is like comparison is the thief of joy, because it is. So like it doesn't matter what size people are going after. I got into this business, one, for time freedom. Actually, that's the biggest one, right? Like in geographic freedom, because Michael and I love to travel. And so I want to be able to do this from anywhere in the world. And I want to just be able to do it whenever I want. So if I take down, 10, actually, I'll just say 5 because 10 feels like a lot to say, 5 deals a year. And if I do that, 3 years in a row, I have 30 plus hours of phone calls every week, just trying to, with the property manager, then talking to the property manager on the side about our business plan, and then calling a vendor, and then doing all these things, right? Because like, I don't just rely on my property manager to do everything for me. I have gotten so much further, like meeting up with the carpet, the flooring guy, and meeting with the roofing guy, because now when I call them, like I've met them in person, I've taken them out to lunch. I just, I will talk to them about the military, because some of these older men really love talking about the military. I'm like, I don't know anything about it, but I can have this conversation with you. So like, it's not just having that weekly asset management call and disappearing. Like that's not it at all. So like, to now bring it full circle, because I talk a lot. I hope that's okay.
It's good though.
That's right. That's why you're here. That's why you're here.
We want to know.
Yeah,
so
but it really is like, we want $30 million a year, $30 million of acquired real estate this year. I am 99.9% sure we'll have that, by May. But that does not mean that like from May to December, I'm going to go buck wild, right? Like, oh, okay, I'm pretty much to my goal, but now what do I do? Because I still have to asset manage and stabilize a property, 2 properties now for 6 months. So if more deals come, that is great. I will look at them, but I'm not going to like grab everything in my sphere just because it's there. Like the property really has to make sense, because one, acquiring a property is a lot of work. Like that, I think acquiring the property is one of the most stressful parts. So once your property is stabilized, it is actually like a dream come true. Calls are super easy. When a property is in like mayhem, I feel like I'm in acquisition mode again. Like I have to be calling people all the time. I have to be figuring out vendors. I have to figure out all these solutions. So, and I don't know if that's ever going to happen, right? Like we have all of these performas and what we think will occur. But like, for example, on the 88 unit, we had a fire last year and a whole entire building burned down. And so I didn't think that was going to happen, but that did not mean, but that's like now a whole new project, right? I have now 64 units that I still have to run. And I'm now somehow in the development business. I'm like, this is crazy. So like, if I were to, you know, be like, oh, okay, well, I hit my goal in May. Why don't I just do that again? I could put myself in like this horrible position. And yes, you know, Grant Cardone's is 10X and I like Grant Cardone, but like, I also want to 10X like my life, you know, like I want to be able to like go outside for an hour because I like made the time to do that. Like I didn't, you know, I wasn't born or my purpose, I don't think, to sit, you know, in this little gray area. Like I want to be able to have the time freedom to be able to do the things I want to do still. Like the money will come and everything will work out, but like going and going and going and going and going and going and going, history has already showed us that that doesn't work a lot of the time. Like you have to figure out what your going is, not what other people's going is.
Yep. And that's a big thing. And that's hard for an investor because you start your own business and all you want to do is take care of it. And you got to find the balance eventually. And that when you were talking about was when your properties are stable, which can you, in your definition, for you and your company, what is a stable property?
So to me, a stable, I was like, I don't know how,
because
like,
it's such a big,
this.
like everybody has a different definition of it. In some people, like on Bigger Pockets, this was one of the ones that I heard early on where somebody bought a property in, I don't know, I'm going to call it Houston. Sorry, Houston. It probably wasn't Houston, but he bought a 24 unit and it was a C-class property that crime was going through it. Rent wasn't being paid. They lied on some of their documents. So what he was actually cash flowing was not what was on paper, which you go into your due diligence and you learn that for next time, but he's sitting in it. He already bought it. So for him to stabilize the property, he sent out a notice. He raised everybody's rent like $300. He knew that he wasn't going to get people to re-up, so he's going to lose some customers. So now he went down to a 50% occupancy. He was still having crime problems. So he put a pass lock to his front gate to get into the building. And then he hired a security guard or a team so that they would monitor it for 1 year full time, 24 hours a day. They always had an officer in the building. I think his occupancy went down to like 30%. But because he went down and he cleared out, we'll call it riffraff, people started to come back, pay the rents. He bumped it up to a B+-ish property and then sold it. And he made like all the money he wanted to make on it. But he went through about 2 years of trying to get that thing stable and operating like it's supposed to operate. Like going through contracts of garbage, going through contract of cable, like cable providers, all of those ancillary things he had to go through. And that's on either you or your property manager to figure out what the best course is. So that's kind of like stabilizing for that person. So it doesn't look like you're into crime-ridden properties. So that's why I asked, like, what is stable? It could be anything.
Yeah, so stable to me is actually when the numbers, and this is like a little give and take, are in line with the pro forma. So like, okay, we thought this is what the expenses would be. We thought the income would be this, right? That to me feels stable. Where if the expenses are way too high, I don't feel stable. I don't care if the property is at 90%, like your NOI is ruined, right? Or like if my cash flow is low, that doesn't feel stable because again, it all has to do with the NOI. So like if my NOI is kind of in line with what I thought it was, that is stable to me. Most of the time, that means your occupancy, you know, is somewhere in the 90s. But I guess really for me, it's like low stress is stabilized. And my bar could be very high for myself because I don't want stress properties. So I do put a lot of work in them into the beginning, but I guess that's how I would define that.
Yeah. And that's a good way to look at it because your tenants don't want stressful either.
No.
Like they just want to be able to have their space and go home and relax.
Yeah, because when your expenses are higher than you anticipate, and your cash flow is lower than you anticipate, you can't do that deferred maintenance that you really need so that your residents feel like it's a home they can go home to. So that's like a big thing we work on. Like our whole thing is we focus on a different ROI, return on impact, because we want the residents to feel like they actually want to come home. So like I've only ever rented, I've never owned a home. So like I know that feeling. Like I don't want to have work orders out for months and months and months, because that's not fair, you know, but that can happen when your expenses are too high and your cash flow is too low.
Yeah. Are there some things that you do to your buildings to reinvest and do those like nice to have things? Like, oh, in this area, we're starting to see like clubhouses within apartment complexes where they either have like a pool, a fitness center, a golf simulator, like outdoor, they'll have a play area. Like, are you reinvesting in your buildings with those type of like amenities?
So yes-ish. So like a lot of our properties have a clubhouse. So within the clubhouse though, we add a business center and a coffee bar, because that like people will come in, and if people come in and they talk to the property manager, then you create a better relationship there. A lot of our properties have pools. All of our properties have a playground. I feel like that's a non-negotiable, like, because I know at least one person has a child. We also add dog waste stations everywhere. We have an excessive amount because I actually don't like picking up poop, and I've done it before, and I'm like, stop. But a big thing we do is in-unit washer and dryer. So we install the connections and we install the actual washer and dryer. Nice. That has been huge. And then when it comes time
in
for
each
renewal,
unit, you're saying?
So not in all of them, just because when we go to sell, we want the next person to have like meat on the bone, but we do it in a lot of them.
Okay.
And then one other thing that we do, which I think is pretty big, is that when it comes to renewals, unfortunately, there is a rent increase, right? It doesn't matter if it's class A or class D, there has to be a rent increase. Especially with utilities costs rising now, like insurance is buck wild, and just everything actually costs way more, right? Like raw goods and materials. So we give the resident 3 choices. So like if you want to have a bump up of this amount, you can choose from these upgrades. If you want to bump up this amount, you can choose from these 3 upgrades. And if you bump up to this amount, which is usually market rent, you can pick from these better amenities. So then, one, we feel like we're giving them decisions, which we are giving them decisions, but they are actively involved in their apartment. And then 2, they actually treat it like a home because they got to pick.
Yeah.
And it takes
Giving
a little
them
more
options
time.
is huge. And it seems small, but even if you listen to Bigger Pockets, I know you'd mentioned it, they talk about that on the offer stage too. You can give 2 offers on a building.
We always
2
do
different
3.
terms.
Yeah. It makes a big difference.
That was like eye-opening to me. I was like, I didn't even know I could put an offer in on a place like that. And you're saying I could offer 3 different things?
Oh, totally.
Like, that was super cool.
Yeah. So in Oklahoma, a big thing that you can do is like an entity purchase. So instead of buying property, you buy the entity. So like we do like an offer with like an entity purchase. We do an offer with seller financing, and we do an offer at where the NOI actually is. So like where the NOI is at, and incorporating like debt service coverage ratio, this is all that we can offer you, because we have to get some leverage from the bank. Yeah. So that's how we do it.
That's cool. Where did you get the tactic on that? Was that Bigger Pockets, or was that your mentor? Or just creativity?
I think it was a mix of all of it, right?
Awesome.
Like, because you don't ever hear people doing it. And I think one person just finally said, like, why don't you put in that offer too? Maybe like a broker. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm going to start adding them all. This is fun. You know, so now there's just a cool chunky matrix that they get to choose from. Again, gives choices. And then it also gives a comparison of like, oh, I could get this much more doing it this way. I'm like, yes. And it doesn't scare them off, right? Because like, if I were to just straight up do seller financing and they've never done seller financing before, they'll probably be like, ooh, scary. But like when they see the other options, they're like, wait, maybe I'll learn a little bit more about that. Yeah. And that's cool.
Yeah. It's not as threatening because they know they have a plan B. So they'll ask you about plan A, knowing that they have a fallback of what is comfortable for them.
Totally.
I guess.
Yeah.
So it's a good way to look at it. That's cool.
Thanks.
What were some of the amenities that you offer? You said like if you want to upgrade here or upgrade here, what are some of those like carrot on the stick type of things that you add in?
Yeah. So a big thing is like ceiling fans. So right now there's like just lights. We can add ceiling fans. Another one is like a different, like you can choose a different appliance package. We did, if you wanted it to be painted a different color, you know, like really just trying to incorporate them any which way. Like, oh, you want your tub resurfaced, like say you hate your tub, or you know, you want it a different way, you hate your cabinets, you can have new cabinets. I don't care. Like, because if you stay and you don't trash your apartment because I gave you new cabinets, that is way cheaper, because I have now done a couple of like unit turns and people destroy it. That's all. I was like,
it's amazing how I walk in, I'm like, how did you do all of this in a year?
Totally.
It's impressive.
I totally agree.
Yep. No, that's super cool. I haven't thought about the whole adding amenities on the re-up. I didn't really think of that concept. I might steal that from you.
No, that's totally fine. Please, I want everyone to steal it because it creates less turnover, and less turnover. I was like, I could keep going. Less turnover means less waste, and less waste is better for the world.
Yep. Yeah. And I'm all about trying to keep, I know it's a rental, but I want you to feel like this is your home, and I want you to treat it like it's your home. So there's some things you're going to have to do. And I know I get flack on this too, but I always tell people like, it comes down to like, if you want to paint a wall to make your room like feel the way you want to feel, do it. But it comes with a but. You're not the owner of it. So if you paint it neon green, you just have to understand you either have to paint it back or you're going to have to pay to paint it back. So like you could do it. I'm not going to say no. Or you can mount your TV. But like just know if you hit an electrical wire or you damage the drywall, like this is all on you.
Yeah.
And you got to understand it's on you.
Totally. Something cool that our apartment like does here is that they were like, so if you want to add a light, because it was so weird, and I will never understand, but there wasn't a light in the living room or the bedroom. So I was like, I feel like I'm hiding in a hole. But they said that they would install a light or a ceiling fan. So I was like, cool. They're actually incentivizing people to put in a maintenance request in order not to ruin things like an electrical line. You know, like, oh, if you want your TV mounted, we can help you with that. I'm like, oh, this is genius, because people are not do it yourself, DIYing everything. And, you know, I mean, and then at the end, when you do have to go back and fix it, you're not like, oh my gosh, it took you 37 holes to figure it out. You know, it's like, oh, cool, they figured it out in 2.
That's a stud finder.
Totally.
Man.
The stud finders now are getting crazy. Like they have ones that you can put on and it picks up electrical wires too.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Those things are amazing.
I just do the old knock method, man. That's what I do. Like, because even the stud finder is sometimes wrong depending on what material I'm trying to go through. So I'm like, okay, this sounds right. Is it okay? And then try it. And once or twice I might have been slightly off, but other times, you know, you find the center of the stud and you're good to go.
I find the smallest nail that I have, and all I do is I pop that through and I'm like, oh, there's the stud. Perfect. If I don't have my tools, I just use a little small nail.
Nice.
I just wait.
I'm not saying that's the right way to do it. Get a stud finder, but so in a pinch, it works.
Not to go right back to it, but that maintenance request, then that's just another way for the property management team, I guess, to make money from the renters.
Because I didn't get billed for it or anything, so I don't think so.
Okay, so you
they just did it. Yeah, I think they did it in order for me not to mess it up.
Okay,
which I think was great.
It might even be an opportunity. I mean, depending on, to mount a TV, what takes 20 minutes, maybe a half an hour. If you're just putting the mount up on the wall and they're like, okay, here, put the TV on. I mean, that could eliminate a third party coming in if they were to hire, you know, what is that? Upwork, or there's other like companies where it's like those putting, I don't know, IKEA dressers and everything together. So you don't hire them people.
Handy.com.
So yeah, something like that. Yeah. So yeah, you put in that request, and then you guys could charge a heavily discounted rate. Then you have to worry about, like I said, third parties coming in and ruining your stuff, or whoever's
Totally.
the property owner. It's not a
Yeah.
bad idea.
Mm-mm.
And do you guys have a CRM system that handles all your tickets? Because obviously managing so many doors, like your
Yeah.
property manager wants a system as well. Is that something you guys went in with the jump with the property management software? Or
I mean, ours just like our property manager just already had it in place. I
Oh,
think
okay.
I can look it up, but I think that she uses Appfolio.
Okay.
Because that's just what works best for her. Yep, I just went to an Appfolio.
so she uses Appfolio, that's
Yeah.
in Oklahoma, or is
Yeah.
that in Tulsa?
Well, Oklahoma. She uses
Okay.
it for all her properties. She also has some properties in like northwest Arkansas. So yeah, she just uses it. Like
Okay,
she just
awesome.
likes that CRM as a whole.
Okay.
Yeah, Appfolio was one that came up when I was looking for one as well. So
Mhm.
not too familiar with it, but I know like the concept of it. And those are super nice because what that allows is you to kind of be out of the picture.
Totally.
If I remember correctly, when they send in a ticket, it can get sent right to your property manager before
Yeah.
you even know anything
Mhm.
about it.
Yeah, I know nothing about any of the maintenance requests that go on. I only know, so like we track KPIs, and the only thing I ask like at the end of the month is like, what tickets do we have open that have been open more than 3 weeks, and why have they been open more than 3 weeks?
And that's super cool that you know that information because you have the CRM. And those are small little things that make your tenants not hate staying there
Totally.
because things are getting done
Mhm.
timely.
Yeah,
But that's also, you could use that as like a selling point to why they would choose to either pay more or choose to rent from
Yep.
you in the first place. Like, hey, open tickets are only 7 days or 8 days or whatever it might be. And okay, so yeah, those are just more tangible statistics depending on the person that you're renting to.
Yeah.
What they like to
And
hear.
that's big for your numbers. That's stuff that when you're running your numbers on the property, you already factor in we're paying X amount for property management. And then you have to worry about all like the extra. If you think about property management as an extra, it's no
Yeah.
longer an extra, it's built into my financing. So you already knew going in that it's not a headache and it's not financially burdened because it's already
Mhm.
accounted for,
Yeah,
which is huge as a new investor.
totally.
When I started and I did my own property management, I factored 10% in from the start because I knew eventually I'm not going to do it. I'm going to pay somebody. So I want to make sure my numbers work now before I even get there.
Yes,
Interesting.
So something to keep track of for the new investors,
totally.
and something you're going to do for your next 2 ones that you have under contract already. And I'm
Yeah,
guessing she's going to manage those properties as well.
yeah.
You'll stay with that same property manager as long as you possibly can.
Oh yeah, she gives the green light. So if she says no, I won't put an LOI down because I'm not going to go hunt a new property manager when I know that I can trust Amy and her team. There's no reason. Like if she said no, there's for a reason. So why would I go and just try to make it work somewhere else?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because some property managers will be like, oh yeah, we can achieve these rents. Cool, you can achieve those rents. But like your story, Marcus, are we gonna have to get it down to 30% occupancy? Because I know the break-even point and the sensitivity analysis did not show 30% occupancy because nobody wants that.
Yep. Yeah. And that guy was not having fun through all of it. It was a definite struggle, but it was worth it at the end.
Good.
So,
It's
but yeah,
always
that
worth it
comes
in the
into doing the due diligence. So that's cool.
Totally.
Well, we have hit an hour and I don't want to keep you any longer because it's bright and sunny outside. We're going into 11 degrees here.
Oh,
So we're loving it.
that's fun.
Yeah, it's
I
great.
wish the best for you today.
You enjoy your warm weather. Well, Ohio's probably a little cold, but all of your investments are enjoying the warm weather.
So it's 34 right now, but yesterday it was 71. So that was wonderful.
Wow.
What
Yeah.
a change.
I know. I got to open the door. I was like, oh, this is luxurious.
I was talking to my buddy who lives in San Diego and he was walking his dog last night, 9:00 my time. And he's like, yeah, I think it's like 60 degrees.
That's so cool.
You suck. Like -5 right now where I'm at.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And if someone wants to get a hold of you, what's the best way to contact you? Because we'll put that in the show notes so that they can reach out.
Totally. So If you go to my website, it's adventurousrei.com/info. And there you can pick, your favorite flavors. So if you like LinkedIn, you can find me there. If you like Instagram or Facebook, you can find me there. But if you are like a new operator and you're wanting to go into multifamily, like reach out and I'd be happy to send you like the checklist that we put together.
That's an awesome
with that information
offer.
Very
yeah.
cool.
And actually I can send that to you all too, because it's adventurousrei.com/checklist. So I can send you that.
Okay. Yeah. We'll put that in the show notes for people that want to log on and go.
Cool. Yeah.
That'd be awesome. Well, I appreciate the time. Thank you so much. Enjoy your weekend and stay warm.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
See ya.
Bye.